So, um, welcome back to the stream. My mute was not working. So, um, let me start over. So, welcome everyone to another installment of Around the Coffee Table. If this is your first time here, I'm Kitty Cat Country and I review books on Fridays normally. Yesterday, I was doing some volunteer stuff that I forgot that I had committed to weeks ago. And I don't know why it didn't occur to me that the time conflict would be an issue, that there would be a time conflict at all. So, yeah, so that lasted from 9 all the way till 4. And usually this series, or even my game streams, they start at 3. Um, so obviously it would have been late. And I didn't want to rush it, and I didn't want to like tell you guys it'll be at 3 and then I'd like run late and shit. So that's why I was like, you know what, let me just reschedule. So anyways, it's Saturday. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday, whether you're working or whatever it is that you're doing. And if you've followed along with me, if you're following Instagram, that you know that this is the book that we're reviewing. I'm not sure. I'm telling you, this is that's why I hate restarting. Like, I know sometimes I'm just gonna have to, but I don't know if I already told you guys the title of the book. So if I have, I'm sorry, but again, to reiterate, this is the book that we're reviewing. If you follow me on Instagram, then you would know that, and you hopefully would have been following, like reading along with me, basically. So this is The Uninvited, or not The Uninvited, but just Uninvited Others by S. Feaker. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my chair. It's a trilogy. This is book 1. Book 3, obviously, that's a trilogy. And it's following a family, from what I gather. I didn't know how it was going to end or how there would be a trilogy because of the way that it ended. But after I was like digesting the ending, then I really appreciated how it ended. And I'll get to that in a minute. So, let me pull out my notes because I don't want to give you guys my opinion on the fly. Like, I'd rather it be, what do you call it? Concise as much as I can, because I do have a tendency to get into tangents. So, all right, here we go. Here are my notes. So what I like about this book is that it's fast paced. I mean, not even horror books, but a lot of books, when they start out, it's a very slow build, and that's what I thought it was going to be. So within chapter 1, shit just pops off. All right, shit just pops off. We're following this family. It's Scarlett and her husband Jeremiah, and their 2 children, Caroline and Archie. Caroline is 9 and Archie younger than 9. He's the little brother. I can't remember how old he is. He could be 5 or 6. So, from what we gather, they're in the car and they're on their way to their new home. They've just been uprooted. The grandmother on the dad's side passed away, and they've had to abruptly just reroute into this new home. Their old home, they had to leave their friends behind. The mom had a successful bookstore. I think Jeremiah had just been promoted. So it's very now why would they just leave everything and go? To me, it already right off the bat is this move doesn't make sense, right? And it's interesting because it gives you a lot of things that don't make sense initially. And it's cool because it's not just scary things that don't make sense is happening. It's I guess mundane things don't make sense. Like this thing, it's a move, if I tell you I'm gonna move, then it's like, okay, well, she's just doing something that everybody fucking does, you know? But the circumstances surrounding this move is very confusing, you know? And I'm really glad that later on it makes a lot of sense as to why this is going on. And and I say this every episode, every installment, that I am always going back and forth, even when like while I'm recording, as to how much information I can divulge, because I don't want to spoil anything. And I think one of the most important things in regards to like ghost stories such as this, origin stories of where the ghosts are coming from, you know, like where the paranormal is originating from, those are like very, very spoiler country things, you know, like I don't want to delve into that territory. I just want to give you like the surface level of things going on, which is like a lot like how I did the book, I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. Like I just gave you like the surface stuff of what was going on, but I didn't really go into the important storyline that you really follow, you know? I kind of just gave you like the bells and whistles, but not the meat and potatoes of the story. So, and I think I'm going to treat this review in the same way. So, like I was telling you, like originally, like this first chapter, you're, you know, tasting the family, and that sounds weird. You're like tasting the circumstances of the family, you know what I mean? Of what they're going through. And then bam, accident. Like car accident, you know? And then as soon as that shit happens, and this is still like chapter 1, I believe, it just pops off. It just pops off, and you just meet these eccentric characters. Like you really get a taste of who they are. Like for example, Jeremiah, like, you know, initially I get the feeling that he's like the serious dad, you know, like you're a stoic father, that, you know, a stoic father figure, and the mom that, you know, she's dotes on her children, you know. And then shit goes down, and then you start to see like what they're really made of, you know what I mean? Like you start like getting a taste for, they go from 2D characters to 3D characters, if you know what I mean. um so like Jeremiah starts hitting the bottle like as soon as he walks into the door, and I didn't get that vibe from him, but as soon as he walks in the door, things change, you know. And again, this just to remind you that they're moving to this new home that belongs to their father, that belonged to their father and their mother. Mother passed away. Father still is very much alive. And this house, and I don't even want to call it a house because it's not. It's a mansion. It's a manor. It's called Haven Manor. And it's huge. And the wife is taken aback because she's like, man, we went through some struggles. You know, we were on struggle bus, and you're over here with all this fucking money. Like, she is pissed. And honestly, I would be pissed too. And I'm really glad that it touched on that, because there are some, like, it got like the details of their life when they found out they were pregnant. Like, I guess in their past, they were like, you know, pinching pennies and shit. And like, she finds out that he comes from money, so she is rightfully pissed. But again, there's, see, that thing right there, that shit doesn't make sense, because it's like, if you come from money, why you got me pinching pennies? You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like little tidbits, like mundane things that don't make sense, but they're like just a small detail of like the grander scheme of things. You know what I mean? Like towards the end of the book, everything, like even the most minuscule detail that didn't fucking make sense, it all starts coming together. It was beautifully done, I think. So this is what I mean. Everything is just fast paced, and this, you learn all of this within like the first 2 chapters. Okay, and this book is fairly short. It's 222 pages, if I remember correctly. So I guess like it just has to hit you with all these fucking details, you know, like real quick. So here are a few things. Hey, you can come in. Okay. Have a seat. This is my niece. All right.
They're not working.
It's not?
No.
What, y'all need a break. So they're trying to start a fire using flints. And apparently it's not going that well. It's okay. It's gonna happen, and you're gonna see it on my TikTok because you're gonna follow me on TikTok, right? And you'll see the videos. Okay, so here's a few things. Um, the origin story for the bad guy. I'm gonna go back and forth when it comes to this book. I'm not gonna go in chronological order because, again, I don't want to get into the story or because the origins of the paranormal stuff because too much because it's spoiler country and I don't want to do that to you. I recommend picking up this book, by the way, because it's a quick ghost story, and I'll let you know. Just listen, just listen, okay? So, a few things I want to touch on. The origin story for the bad guy. Um, in the beginning, I because origin stories, if you don't do them right, they seem so cheesy. Okay? And the origin story for this one, I was like, damn, like you really went there. Like she went ancient. I don't know why I think the writer's a she. This person went ancient. Okay, so we're dealing with an ancient entity, right? And I mean, I don't know what else to call it. So because she went so big with it, so ancient, I was like, damn, how is this gonna end, right? Um, how are they gonna defeat this thing, right? So I'm really glad of the way she wrote it because there was a struggle between the family and I guess the ghosts in this house, right? Um, but it wasn't so, like in the scary movies, it's like that you bring in a priest, he cleanses the house, and then happy, like there's a happy ending, and everybody's happy because the ghost is gone, and everybody lives happily ever after. It's not like that, okay? Even though I like my stories like that, I appreciate that this is not like that because it wouldn't make sense for that kind of ending if you're going up against something ancient, right? You mean to tell me someone who's lived a whole ass 45 years of life, 40, 30, whatever, even 60 years of life, goes up against a baddie who has been alive for hundreds of years, and that's the thing that takes it down? That wouldn't make sense. It's stupid. But they didn't do that in this book, which I appreciate. The outcome of the struggle, I really appreciate. Now, again, I'm walking on eggshells here because this is the end of the book, right? Um, and yes, I know I'm going back and forth, like beginning and end, whatever. Um, I appreciate how the ending was. And the reason I appreciate it is because if you wanted to just, if you didn't want to continue the trilogy, if you just wanted to put the book down, you could, because the way that she wrote the ending, it made sense for the bad guy. The ending for the bad guy, the ending for the family made sense. Um, how everything just came to a close made sense, and it kind of just left you with like, I wonder, like if you really were curious about what happened next, then obviously pick up book 2. But if 2 and 3 just didn't exist, this is a good standalone story, because everything has settled down, you know? Um, there is a sense of closure at the end for the family. You know what I mean? And people can go back to their regular lives if this were to happen to you. If this were to happen to me, like you could have just walked away, right? But a lot of the middle part of the story was that you couldn't walk away. You know, when you're reading the story, you're like, well, shit, like if this house full of ghosts has such a power over people, why don't people just walk away and leave the house? You know? Why are they subjecting themselves to this torture? And the dynamic of the power in the power of the house, the book, the ghosts, the stories, it has a hold, right? It makes it so that to be in the house, as terrifying as it is the lesser of the two evils. Because if you leave, like, it's crazy because yes, you run the risk of dying in this house, like that's how powerful these ghosts are, but you run an even greater risk of not just a, like dying by leaving, trying to leave and live your life outside of the house, but also the people that are in your life, like your loved ones and everybody else. It You run the risk of putting them in danger, as the danger that you're putting them in is also greater than if you just stayed in the house, you know? And for me, I thought that was really different because I've never seen anything like that. So I I knew this there was a book too, okay? And I was like, okay, if people enjoyed this book, if people enjoyed this review, then I'll pick up book two, you know? But as it stands right now, I'm not going to pick up book two. Not because I don't want to, but because I have other books that I need to read before I go out and buy another one. And we're going to be reading a book from two of my favorite authors. So I wanted to, I was just really curious, like, you know, the curiosity got to me and I was like, let me just look at the synopsis for book two. I can already tell you, it's just going to be a book. It's just going to be me reading about two characters that are just going to piss me off. And it's in the best way because it has nothing to do with the author, has nothing to do with the characters, really. It's just, there's too many similarities between the kind of person that I'm going to be reading in book two and the person I used to be that pissed me off, you know? Like, if you're growing in life and you look back and the shit that you used to do just makes you cringe or makes you frustrated with yourself, that means you've grown. But if you look back in your history of the person that you used to be and you're like, yeah, I was justified. Like, yeah, I should have did that. And yeah, I should have talked to that person that way. Then maybe you didn't grow very much. Anyways, so that's another reason why book two is not a priority for me. Okay. So what I really enjoyed about this book, and it kind of just tickled me a little bit, is that the way it mentions Haven Manor, Haven Manor. Okay. Because it was very like, man, I wish I could remember. Like, I think it was like a movie or a play where it was like, oh, well, this is, you know, cabaret, or I can't remember what it was, but it was like, well, you know, of course you'd expect this in, well, this is, you know, like, it's very much like, it was very theatrical. That's what it was. The way that they presented Haven Manor, and Haven Manor is written so many times in the book, which it also tickled me. So, and you're probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'll tell you right now. I'll give you some examples. All right. So I bookmarked them. Jeremiah being back with his family simply added to the chaos that was Haven Manor. There was no sleeping at Haven Manor without a little help. In Haven Manor, you're never alone. But happiness at Haven Manor was fleeting and rare. Her children would be safe from the curse that was Haven Manor. Looking at each other, nodding in agreement, they started to build their plan to infiltrate the third floor and find what was causing the hauntings of Haven Manor. You know, it was very much that. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, this is Haven Manor. You know, like, oh, you're fucking hitting the bottle and you're getting drunk every night and taking sleeping pills. Well, that's Haven Manor. You know, it was, I don't know. I'm not taking a jab at the book. I just thought it was like very like, yeah, like this is a fucking ghost story. Like, give me all the fucking bells and whistles and give me the fucking theatrics, because I mean shit, like this is a larger than life story. So yeah, fucking Haven Manor that shit up, you know? And you're probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? If you read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay. So, I do have one thing that I thought was a little weird. See, I don't want to say I forgive a lot of things. It's not that, but it's almost like I'm reading and there's like a little literary bump, but I just keep on pushing through because I just want to get to the meat and potatoes of the story, and maybe that'll change with the style of my review, but because this is a fairly new thing for me, but I need to stop at those bumps, those literary bumps, and bookmark them, because I think those are really good talking points. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want it to seem like I'm taking jabs at the book, because at the end of the day, like, this book kept me entertained, and the last thing I want to do is fucking nitpick a book over something that I feel like is a cliche sentence, like how I did with In the Darkness, I think it was the one about Persephone and Hades. Sure, there's like people use, I mean, there were some things that I felt like were a little cliche, but I mean, there's a reason why things are cliche, because it has everything to do with them being common, you know? And but I'll give you an example of what I mean. Okay. So this, just to add some context, Eric is Jeremiah's younger brother, and Eric and Scarlett, which is Jeremiah's wife, have never met each other before now. Okay. And Jeremiah has always talked shit about Eric to Scarlett. So she had this, like, going into the house. By the way, Eric lives in the house. She's had this preconceived notion that Eric is just a piece of shit because he's an alcoholic and blah, blah, blah. So this is towards the end of the book, and she's gotten to trust him. You know what I mean? And I think and Eric has gotten, I guess, close to her, because it's like, well, this is my brother's wife. Like, this is the last of the family that I have left. You know what I mean? So like it's almost like he's clinging on to her and to Jeremiah, because I mean, they all hate their dad and their mom is gone, so that's literally all they have. They just have each other. They have aunts and uncles that come to the funeral of the grandma, but I mean, there's no semblance of not intimacy, but like closeness within the extended family. So, they're going out right now to go explore the house, and Eric is waiting for Scarlett to come out of her room. And this is what is so it describes her appearance, you know, like what she's wearing, how her hair is curly, And then it just mentions her being a natural beauty. Okay. And then uh, the sentence follows is the sentence that follows is maybe it was the fact that he hadn't been around a woman his age for a while, but he couldn't resist being attracted to her. Okay. So the brother is attracted to his brother's wife. Okay. Now, maybe if I pick up book two, that would make sense. But I'm just reviewing book one. Book one, like, nothing in book one prepares you for that, right? And after that sentence, there's no mention of it. So I think it's very strange and so random that that's put in there, you know? So I think it's interesting that towards the end of the book, you get an idea of how she looks. To some readers, that may be important because you want all the details so that your imagination can run with how how you're reading the book, because that's how I read. Like, I want all the details so that I can set up the setting in my mind, and that way when I read, it's like a movie in my head. So I thought it was very strange, one, that this is the first mention of her appearance. Usually if you're going to do that, you do it towards the beginning, unless there's a reason why you waited so long to mention her appearance. Like, why did you mention it now, you know? And why is it important what she's wearing, you know? I don't know. Just me. And then right after that, you almost supplement the reason why you did it with the either it was because you wanted to show how pretty she was, or was it because you wanted to give Eric a reason to be attracted to his wife? Like, obviously, it's almost like obviously Eric's going to be attracted to Scarlett because she's so beautiful. Okay, if that's the situation, literally nothing happens after that. You know, like, there's no mention of him hitting on her, of him like fantasizing a life with her. Like, there's nothing. There was almost no purpose for mentioning that Eric was attracted to Scarlett. So that's what I mean. Like, it was so random, you know, like it was almost unnecessary. Okay. And there was one hole that I didn't understand, that I didn't get closure from either. I guess that is also a hole, technically, because nothing came from it. I didn't get any answers. But the second thing was, how did the bad guy meet his mother, like Jeremiah's mother's side of the family? Because the bad guy is like restrained, or what's the word, confined to Haven Manor. So how the hell did he meet like Jeremiah's mom? And because apparently he had been married to Jeremiah's sister before he married Jeremiah's mom. Okay, so you could say that the baddie met Jeremiah's mom through the sister. But then how did he meet the sister if he's confined to the house? You know? It didn't explain that. So I thought that was interesting. And it's important because the bad guy and the family unit, there's a relationship there. A strong fucking relationship. So this whole, to me, is pretty big. Or maybe I missed it. I don't know. I mean, I read this book in a week, so it's very likely that I might have read it and just fucking forgot that detail. But I really don't think so. If I mean, if I was able to remember the whole Scarlet being hot thing. So, anyways, all right. So that's enough rambling for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this book review. I'm really glad this book review only lasted 30 minutes because I think an hour for a book review is a little fucking excessive. And I even if I'm really fucking like, what was it? I'm Not Your Perfect Daughter. Yes, I understand that was an hour long fucking review, but hey, that book is important to the community. Okay, chill. Anyways, so if you enjoyed this book review, let me know. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok. It's Kitty Cat Country throughout the whole, all those platforms. Obviously, Kitty Cat Country here. And stay tuned for my gaming stream that's going to happen tomorrow at 3. Hopefully, we can put to rest When the Past Was Present. Hopefully. All right, so I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, bye.